Reputation is everything. Where in Bali do you see this shift happening most?
Let's say you found your land legally. It's also very important. You've done a proper contract, also with proper extension terms.
If I was fresh to Bali, what would you say to me?
The most important things is to find the right contractor.
You had experience on both renovation side and then also the selling side.
We building for 10 different developers, close to 90 units. This knowledge what we got, because a lot of people don't have to do the same mistakes. After I come back to Bali, basically, I decided to sell my company.
Bali Business Club, we're here with Erik Steinhiller. Sprechen Sie Deutsch, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're in Bali for...
5 years.
5 years?
Yes.
Okay. And what brought you this side of the across Europe, really?
To be honest, funny enough, my first flight in my whole life was to Bali.
First time you ever been in a plane?
First time I ever been in a plane with the family. Went to Croatia, Switzerland and stuff like that, but never with the plane. So
wow.
Directly on COVID or while COVID break out, we decided to try to go to Bali for 1 month.
Your parents and you?
No, me and my friends.
Oh,
basically,
okay.
Back then we had a office in Germany, overworked us as hell, and they said, like, Erik, we need a break. We have to go to Bali for 1 month. It's like, okay, I never been outside of Europe properly. Let's go for it.
Wow.
Yes.
And you never came back?
I came back after that for 2 months, and then I decided to fully move here.
And whereabouts in Germany are you from?
Close by Frankfurt.
And how did you get into the construction game? Like, what's your whole story?
To be honest, I grew up more or less like on the construction side. So my family since over 45 years in business and construction. Okay. And I decided like at the age of 15 to basically follow these steps. Back then I had the idea of taking over the company, the construction company from my dad. Basically have the engineering background as well, done apprenticeship, and then basically starting in the construction, renovating apartments. Back then we bought like apartments from the 80s, renovate them and then sell them again. Because like fix and flip very fast and very easy. And back then financing was also not an issue. So we generated leads over the usual platforms, get already buyers in before, buy then the property, renovate them 3 to 4 months and sell them again.
So you had experience on both the renovation side,
yes,
and then also the selling side.
Yes.
So you know how funnel works, you know how lead generation works. Okay, because that's super handy to know in Bali. And I presume making decks, renders, you know, those kinds of things.
Yes.
Because that's many developers struggle to cross over those two worlds, you know?
Yeah, because back then, like when I come here the first time 5 years ago, it was way more easier to basically villas sold themselves, and right now you have to put a little bit more effort into it.
How much more effort do you think has to go in these days compared to 5 years ago?
I would say a lot. Like a lot of my friends, which I know they're developing here since 7 or 8 years, they underestimate how much more effort and how much more skills you need for the sales and the marketing part in order to actually move right now stock and like bigger stock as well.
So high amounts of units, developments that are obviously the market's more saturated, so there's a lot more developments available.
Yes.
Choice is bigger. So would you say what, like double the amount of effort? Because I think back probably pre-COVID, you could package up something in a SketchUp and sell it, kind of thing, or probably not even, or just a drawing and, you know, sell it.
Yeah, that was very similar towards this one. Like one of my first developments that I done, like in the 3rd month of construction, basically was sold out.
It was without just even showing anything, just mentioning.
No, I done the renderings back then, basically, but people say like, oh, you're building, oh, it's already like in the 3rd month, okay, we buy it. So back then was way, way easier because you had like low supply, high demand. Right now, I think the demand is still high, but it's growing also as well, but the supply doubled or like maybe even tripled in the meanwhile. So that's why you have to put more efforts in order to be seen, and also you have to build a proper quality in order that even agents right now taking you on.
And then what was your first project?
My first project was back in Tumbak Bayou.
Okay, that's where I live.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after I come back to Bali, basically I decided to sell my company or my shares, what I had back then in Germany. Had enough money to build exactly 2 villas here. So I went all in. And especially the first build was a nightmare. But I think it was one of my main motivations why I started later on a construction company, because you had to teach everything. Concrete pouring, how to do plumbing properly, like all the small things, dam proofing. And it was just a nightmare. I was basically on site. I hired someone else, but I had to teach their workers on how to build properly. And I decided to myself luckily I sold out in the 3rd month, but after that, if I do any more construction, I will do it with my own team. So all the efforts that I put in is at least kept, and not they go away to the next site and the next client will be very happy, but I have to start from scratch again.
I think that's a really interesting origin story, you know, how and why you started your own business and the gaps that you filled and why and how, and also the mistakes that other people have made, because there's a lot of small villa owners here or developers as such, and I can see the pain and suffering that they go through. Okay, so we're back with Erik Steinhiller, and we're just discussing, he's one of the biggest, we'll touch on that, actually, the developers, I wouldn't say the biggest, but your reputation is starting to precede you in the market. You're doing some great projects. You started with 2 villas back 7 years ago?
No, this was 5 years ago.
5 years ago, sorry, into my bio. So why don't we touch on what are you doing at the moment? What are your companies called? And, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so basically right now we have basically 3 different companies. One of them is Bali Prime Construction. So we're helping other developers to build a good quality and also to deliver the projects on time. And as you know as well, that was one of the main points why we bring in touch in general was like we building for right now 10 different developers, close to 90 units at the moment.
Wow.
And the thing is and then we have the second company, which is Bali Prime Developments. So we do our own developments as well. So I know the contractor side, I know the developer side, but I start on the contractor side. Mm-hmm. And then we basically have the advisory. So in advisory, we basically help other people how to buy land, how to legally secure this one, how to operate with how taxes are working here in general, and also basically how to do all the drawings later on with our in-house architecture team. Because we have one of the biggest real estate groups here with over 650 people inside, where we're teaching people, and every 3 weeks we have meetups where we help them on how to safely invest in Bali, because it's not that easy as it looks like, as you know as well.
Yeah, sure.
And we want to basically avoid that the people doing the same mistakes what we done basically in the community.
Yeah. Okay, tell us a bit about that. I've been actually trying to get into that group, but I'm still not in it.
Maybe afterwards.
I want to, and I want to come to the meetups also. Okay, so what is that group like? How did it come about? Is it buyers that you're actually supporting, or fellow developers, or a bit of both?
To be honest, it's a bit of both. For the main reason why, how this all started is I've been to, back then, it was 4 years ago, to a real estate meetup. And I met a very good friend of mine. He's structural engineer from Austria, and I showed him my sites. He showed his sites as well, and I was shocked how bad the quality basically was. And I was like, "Hey, why you don't do this?" And he's like, but my contractor told me we build it this way. This material is not available. So I helped him a lot on how to build a better quality, and he helped me back then a lot on the Texas side, how this one is working, what are the best setups, and we just figured out because he already developed longer than me back then, I think 3 years longer, and we figured out this knowledge what we already got because we went through the first projects already. A lot of people don't have to do the same mistakes, so we then decided to do a meetup. We just posted on Omeo, and on the first meetup, 93 people showed up, and I was like, oh, there's a big demand towards it.
Yeah.
And that's basically how the community started. And this was 3.5, almost 4 years ago.
And what are the most common kind of questions, problems, issues that people experience or that you hear repeatedly in those kinds of groups or meetups? And you need to be diplomatic about this.
Yes.
Otherwise, we've got to cut it out.
To be honest, I think the biggest challenge in the Bali market is you ask 10 different people and you usually get 9 wrong advices. And
well, I wouldn't even say wrong. It's just nobody quite knows, and things are changing all the time.
Yes.
So it's a very dynamic and difficult kind of environment to manage. Really.
Yeah, but it can be very confusing, especially if you come in for the first time. You trust on maybe 1 or 2 guys. Maybe they don't know it better as well. Yeah. And later on, it turns out that you've done a lot of mistakes, which can be very costly, rather on the legal side, rather on the construction side. So. I would say the most common questions is first of all, how do I find good land and also affordable land? Then things how much can I build per square meter? What to look out for in a good contractor. We also done a checklist on how to check this one. Then how to calculate properly, also on the development side, the profit and loss calculation, because I think a lot of developers doing these ones wrong, or they don't even know what they're doing. And later on, of course, rental as well. How to market this one properly, and sales is also an important thing.
Yeah,
how to do this.
That's quite a lot. So, okay, well, let's start at the top. So, land. What is your advice? Because land, especially now, you got the LSD stuff, you've got the ocean setbacks, you've got all agricultural things and zoning things. And I'm sure your advice 5 years ago to how your advice is now has just changed dramatically.
Yes.
It's just a different world, you know. You used to buy and then sort out problems. You can't do that anymore.
No, you have to start properly preparing everything.
Yeah. So what's the latest advice? Because also I did a podcast exactly like building in Bali, what we're doing now.
Yeah.
I did it 2 years ago, and it's just it's like being in another country almost. So
Yes, it's changing fast.
yeah, fast. So what is your, if I was a fresh Bali,
Yes.
fresh to Bali, what would you say to me?
To be honest, first of all, right now, luckily, we always went for our own developments, always in pink zone.
Yeah.
We never touched yellow zone. And right now, you can still...
Even 5 years ago.
Even 5 years ago?
Wow.
Sorry, that's wrong. My Tumbak Bayo one was yellow zone, the first one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but after that, somehow we always end up with we always went for a pink zone.
Yeah.
Right now, with the yellow zone, the new regulations, some things are unclear, where it will go, where not. I personally would just advise to go to pink zone to be more safe, because easier to get all the permits.
Yeah.
You can also build more dense, depends on what you want to build, what not.
Is there enough pink zone to drive this demand?
It's getting more tricky, let's call it this way. But usually if you search for it, you will find it.
Okay.
So this is very, very important.
Okay, so why is that? What's wrong with yellow zone? What's the issue?
No, I personally just our concepts that we do for our own developments, we want to have a higher density, basically what we can build, like a coefficiency. That's why we always go for the pink zone ones, so we can build more dense, basically, legally.
Okay.
Without
yellow
having,
zone, what is like 30% you can't build?
depends on the sub-district. There's always a different
Some
ones.
rule, okay.
Yeah.
And
Pink
but-
zone usually between, if you're closer to the beach, 50% to all the way up to 65%.
Okay, so that's your zoning advice. So pink if it's a commercial,
Yeah.
more of a commercial thing. Yellow is still possible if you're looking to just build for yourself
Yes.
and live in it, etc., etc. Okay, a checklist,
Yes.
constructor's checklist.
Yes.
Okay, so talk me through that. Is this for somebody who's managing a contractor, or
No, this
is
one
trying
is-
to project manage themselves with some?
No, this one is
Two
for the initial stage. So let's say you found your land, you legally, that's also very important, you done a proper contract, also with proper extension terms, because I see 90% of people doing it wrong here.
Yeah, we've done a couple of podcasts on that. How to secure extensions on leases the best way. It's really worth watching. We'll put a link up here.
Yes.
So yeah, we've done it a couple of times, but I'd love to hear how you kind of do it.
I watched your podcast as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you copied us.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, we done it. They weren't done the same way, and actually, this
Okay.
one's very, very important, because this one gives you so much more flexibility later on to extend, or also to investors as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just go for priority extension, which at the end of the day, there's not really.
All right, market extension.
Yes.
No, we don't recommend
Which
that.
is a 90-10 chance that you get it through.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, securing land. Okay, and then what the next thing?
Yeah,
is,
the next thing is then, of course, you have to find a contractor. Before that, of course, you have to go to an architect. You have to make the designs first. And we also, especially on the structural engineering side, we see a lot of flaws that people are basically doing, and designs are not right. So if we would build it this way, we can have some issues. So it's very, very important, first of all, that you go for architects and also for structural engineers, first of all, they're certified, which makes common sense, but most of the time I see drawings there which are not done from a certified engineer, or they're not. You need a stamp on it, and this one have to be signed in order to be compliant. So it's actually from a structural engineer, not from the grandpa that draws something together.
Yeah.
And besides of this one, then of course, once you have this one, you get to go for the BOQ, the bill of quantity, which is very important. The more detailed it is, the better it is, because this one is you see exactly in the BOQ what will you get and what will you not get. And also very important that you should always ask, what a lot of people are doing wrong, why they go over budget. You should ask usually you should do it from a external quantity surveyor. They list you everything down. You should ask, is there something missing? Do we have some additional cost towards it? That's why people most of the time go over budget, because they don't ask these questions. Or even more worse, they got the BOQ done from the contractor, which try to just fit into the budget somehow, and later come up with a 20 or 30%
I think that's
additional invoice.
That's standard operating procedure in Bali. It's like the contractor does it, and then it just goes over budget, because that's how he makes his margin at the end. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what would you put into like project managers and quantity surveyors, even on a smaller project? Or is that, I can see it probably getting a little bit expensive. How do you do that on a more of a shoestring kind of budget, or do you even try these days? You just buy.
No, to be honest, for us, it's like if we're building for external clients, we have a minimum amount of $1 million on a construction amount without the land.
So you need scale.
Yes. Yeah. Everything else, like we don't do small 3-4 bedroom, 3-4 villas. We don't do this one anymore. We're just focusing on the bigger scale ones because it's where we can help also other developers more. We can dedicate more time towards it. And this one just make more sense for us. But let's say I would build on a budget. Let's say people watching here, they want to build their own home. I would highly recommend, even if you come from a construction background, that you're still hiring a project manager, which have experience. They usually, if it's a local, a good one costs you around maybe $600. If you go for expat, always make sure they have the right kitas and everything. Then you look at like 1K to 1.2K US dollars per month.
Not full time, so they'll be bouncing a couple.
Yeah,
of
they're coming
projects.
like 2 to 3 times usually per week to your on-site.
Okay.
Because like especially if it's your first build, it's so much different than how we build in Europe. And also to understand how to communicate, that's also a different thing. And also what to look out for, what are the common flaws. So I think that's one of the best invested money you can do. You hire a project manager or quality controller for your project, no matter which size it is, because otherwise you don't know what they're doing and you don't know what they're hiding or problems coming up later on.
Yeah, I've heard that actually several times. So that's great words of advice there. Okay, so then what's next? So after that, and then contractors, quantity surveyor if needed, a project manager. What's next?
Yeah, then you basically go into the deal stage together with the contractor. You make sure that the BOQ is completely done. You have a look into what are the timelines. Is it realistic timelines? Because sometimes they tell you, I build you 10 villas in 6 months, and then you figure out it's taking 18 months, which a lot of people that I know happen to them as well.
And time is money, So running over time is costing you money. So.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's very easy to check. You just go for an S-curve, like a broker's curve. They break down everything like, okay, in the first week we do the bore piles, for example. Then next week we basically start with the foundation and everything. So it's like a breakdown. You can also get this one done from your QS as well. So you can tell the contractor, hey, I need this one done in, for example, 12 months or 14 months, depends on how big the project is. Or you can if you don't have it from your QS yet, I would ask the contractor to do it, because that's a sign of seeing, first of all, how professional is he. Because most of the contractors, they never heard about it. They don't do it because you need the extra QS hired in order to keep this one up. Like we have like 4 QSs just to do weekly progress reports for our clients. It's an extra budget point.
It needed,
Yes, and especially if you're external PM or for you, if you look at the progress report later on, even if you have no idea, you can scroll down and see basically, okay, progress planned versus actual progress. And then is my project ahead of schedule? Is it behind schedule, or is it on track? And especially on structural stage, it's usually always ahead of planned, and usually it slows down later on towards the finishing stage.
So things like external, like rainy season right now, has been brutal. So how do you account for that? How do you plan for it? How do you put space in, or do you at all, or do you just manage the client's expectations and just say
No. You have to plan it before. Like especially I know rainy season is to a certain point it's unexpected. You cannot control the weather, not yet, unfortunately. So you have to plan this one in. You have to plan in that you have 2 or 3 weeks potential delay. So you make sure that you can do in this time basically to steel fabrication. You can be prepared before. And even if you have 2 or 3 days or 4 days, or sometimes even with this rainy weather, a week delays, that you still enough ahead of schedule. So what we're trying in the rainy season, especially on the structural part, because it's the only thing where the delay basically happens, is that we try to keep up 10 to 15% ahead of schedule. So even if we have delays, so it's raining 1 week, we still don't lose progress or going behind the actual planned schedule. So that's the way how we keep it up.
Okay. Anything else on that checklist that you want to run through?
Yeah. Basically, like first of all, BOQ is important on your side, and contractor. What kind of project did they already done? What is their track record? Let them show you units that they build in the same budget range. Because what I'm seeing a lot is like, you want to build for 300K, and they show you a villa for 2 million. Expectation here, delivery here. So there's a big gap on where you can be very, very unhappy. So always make sure and ask, hey, for how much per square meter did you build this one? And is it comparable to mine? Yes or no? Because otherwise you have the expectation gap is too big and you will be 100% unhappy.
I think, if you want to share that checklist or anything, we'll put the detail link.
Yeah, sure. We can put the link inside.
Okay, so your own projects currently. I know you've got several on the go at the moment.
Yeah.
What kind of thing are you focusing on? I presume it's like apartments, quite commercially costed or priced. tell me where you're at with that whole thing, and where is Bali fitting within what you're doing at the moment, you think?
Yeah. So first of all, on the projects that we are basically doing is like there's two different sides. One side our own developments, and the other side what we're doing for our external clients.
Sure.
So right now we do all the range from basically smaller boutique resorts with like 8 to 10 villas, all the way up to basically building 88 units in one go in an apartments complex. Also do
That's for clients, yeah?
yes, that's
And which company is that with?
this one is Bali Prime Construction.
Bali Prime Construction.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
And then there's another one, which
Yes, it's Bali Prime Developments.
in Sessa, you've got a big build that you're doing.
Yes, exactly. These ones are 88 units as well.
88 units.
Yes.
Okay. And that's Exora, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's done under the brand name Exora, which we're building right now as well. Prime location, 250 meters away from the beach. So there's a big range of basically different projects that we're doing. We also do commercial builds, like smaller malls, and all the way up to basically like apartment complexes.
And where's the sweet spot in Bali at the moment? Where do you see it moving, or where do you see it going back to, and also where in Bali do you see this shift happening most?
You mean like regarding the demand?
Well, demand, and also, but like the there's a lot of projects coming into the market that are quite specific. A couple of years ago it was like small-ish Mediterranean villas were everywhere.
Yes.
Now it seems to be a little more apartment focused, multi-level kind of thing. Where do you see the changes that have happened the last couple of years, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, I think it's right now the biggest change in the last years was people heavily focusing on the apartments part, because it's fitting towards like a bigger client avatar that people can afford these apartments, because it's not 300, 400K, it's more like maybe 100K, maybe 60K, depends on the apartments. But I'm seeing at the same time that the demand for more bigger and spacious and more luxurious villas coming at the same time. So we have two different sub-markets. One is like the affordable ones, which is coming with the apartments or covered with the apartments. And the other part is basically with people who have money, maybe coming from Australia or from Europe, and they want to have a certain luxury. They want to have 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, but a big garden. And as we know as well, land prices are more expensive here. But I think it's shifting towards like both of these sub-markets, and more, at least what I see from our inquiries, is getting more in the luxury market at the same time.
Okay, so let's touch on that. So it's how has the buyer profile shifted in Bali in the last couple of years? Is it more price pointed? Is it becoming more luxury? Has the avatar got more, the buyer avatar or the buyer profile, whatever you want to call it? Do they have more budget, and where are they also looking to buy? And is it purely investment, or is it a lot more built to, buy to live, really?
Yeah, I think I would answer the question with everything is in there. So we have lower budget clients. We have high net worth individuals who are searching for basically plots. We have different areas. There's no right or wrong. It's just about how do you tailor your development towards the target group that you want to have. For example, if you want to go for smaller apartments, price range from 60 to 100K, for example, this one is very affordable. Could be also purchased by, for example, fly-in, fly-out workers from Australia. But this one can be done in Sesse, for example, can be done in maybe even Kidungu as well. So it's always like how I do it. I always have, I develop the product or the development towards the client avatar, or maybe also the potential leads that I'm already having. So let's say I have 50 leads which are having 100 to 120K USD, for example, to invest. I see like, okay, how can I fit the product towards them? What kind of needs do they have? And then do it this way. Because what I saw a lot, and also on the development and also on the construction side as well, people doing a design, they maybe have the fundings to, let's say they build 8 villas, they have enough funding to build 4 of them. And they think, once I started with the construction, I can easily sell them out. But later on, they figure out that they don't have a product market fit. So they're building these units, they put all the money, all the liquidity inside there, and later figuring out the market don't even want this one. That's why we as well is like, we're mainly focusing on the off-plan sales. So we can adjust these things in the drawings. We can talk together with our clients what they would like to have inside there, and then would tailor the product towards it. Not that we customize everything; that would be too much work. But you can bring certain feedback and certain things in, and bring the people with you on a journey, which is very powerful.
I hear the off-plan market. I was talking to Tom from Real Estate Indonesia. That's the state. I think the off-plan was like, what was it, 70-30 or something? And it's a substantial, and it's getting more, Do you think there's obviously a demand for off-plan, otherwise people wouldn't be doing it. But do you think it's a trend that's going to stick around? Do you see it, changing? It's obviously far more prevalent in Bali. But yeah, do you think it's going to stick around? And is it effective? I mean, you say it is because you can change, you understand your market better, you get feedback, you change. But a lot of projects come online, they stay there, they don't sell, and it just becomes a failed
100%.
project.
I think like people still have the perception of that off-plan is very easy to do in Bali.
Mm.
But it comes down right now also with all the different agencies that you have. They only list you once you have a track record and already done developments before.
Mm.
Because what we saw as well is like 2 years ago, even 1 year ago, we have all these different off-market properties flooding the market. A lot of people buying these ones, but how many of them, or also put the money down, but how many of them actually executed?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so, as I mentioned before with my first build, it's very hard, and I had a construction background to basically also execute these things, what to look out for, how to budget these things right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're seeing also more and more basically unfinished villas right now being sold before they even being finished. So that's why agencies also look way more for it, because they had a lot of clients burned for this one, a lot of legal problems and other things as well. So I think off-plan will still stick around, but as we see already right now, the agencies who offer these ones, they're way more, how to say this one, critical with it, which is absolutely right. They want to see, did you already done developments in this range? What is your track record? Where are you coming from? They do more background checks than before.
Well, I mean, there's just so much more of opportunities to get burned if you're a buyer and you're buying off plan. You can sell 3 units, buy the land, and then just nothing ever happens and you never get your money back. So
yes,
yeah, it's a high risk move. So I think reputation is everything, whereas Europe or Cape Town, etc., there's a very stringent legal process with escrow, etc., to buy off-plan property. So I think in Bali it is developer/agent kind of governed, where it's built on reputation and credibility, and there's a due diligence that goes into it with the notaries, etc. Do you think that should be tightened up and changed? Do you think it should be far stringent legislation, or do you think it will be self-regulated going forward into the future?
The thing is, in general, like for example, things like an escrow account, we have all these instruments here, but the most of the time, developers rather don't want to use it, don't know that it's existing, and the same for the investors as well. So I think one of the biggest things that have to happen is like to educate the investors as well, how to safely invest in Bali as well, how to not get burned. Because if you get burned by an external developer, you talk to your friends, families, you post something on social media, this one have a bad reputation for the whole Bali market, which affects all of us at the end of the day.
Bad news travels 10 times faster than good news.
Yes. So I think, legally there have to be more a tightened process as well. If you're developer and you focused on your investors as well, you have this, like for example, we have an escrow account. So the money only get released, for example, for a certain progress on a construction or for a certain stage or key handover. So we have this, the instruments are existing. You just have to ask. Yes.
Registered escrow.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of developers do it offshore, but then it's
and you also have to be very careful. Like I would say 90% of all the escrow accounts from the notary, that's actually their private bank account. So you have
notary and escrow is weirdly interchangeable here.
So the real escrow account, for example, OCBC have this one, BCA, Paramata Bank should have it as well. We mainly use OCBC for these ones. You need 2 proper signages in order to release the money. So from the notary's side and also from the side of the buyer later on, in order to release the funds.
I mean, that's a proper note.
For the most people,
escrow,
they listen to this one and think like, of course it's normal, but not here in Bali.
Okay. Why don't you touch on a couple of the projects you're doing? It'll be interesting to know what you're selling at the moment, so people can look. And then also, what kind of sets you apart from everybody else in the market? I mean, I know you got the whole German engineering side to you, and you're far more precision focused and European standards, etc. So why don't you touch on that? And then also, that's very much so. You must have come into an environment that is culturally extremely different to what your, it must be a little bit like oil and water. So I can imagine your blood pressure is quite high sometimes. How do you manage those expectations and so you don't explode into a puddle of stress?
Yes. So first of all, the projects that we're currently doing, it's like we focusing especially in the Sese area more on like the developments for expats. For example, we have like Piece of Paradise, which already sold out. These ones are 19 units. The approach for this one was...
Why Sese?
Why Sese? Sesse is for me, like you have Brennan where we are right now here as well, and you have very, very high property, land price as well. After that comes Pantalima, which is a little bit more tricky. You have a lot of green zones and everything in here. And after that, the next one after Brennan is basically Sesse.
Oh, so you're just following the coast?
No, we also do developments in Uluwatu and also, for example, Candidasa as well. But for the expats focus, we had a look basically, and also we asked in our real estate community what they want to have. And I personally feel like we have a lot of like short-term rentals here, but properly developed properties for basically expats. We have a co-working space inside there, a cafe, so you can order to your apartment or townhouse, basically also beverages. But we just ask ourselves what have to be included in there that we would personally like to stay inside there. And that's what we've done on a smaller scale. We basically Piece of Paradise, and the unit, like the whole development was sold out in like 2.5 months. Also off-plan everything, which this one will be delivered in another 2 months from now. Will be finished. Okay. And then we have 1 minute from there, basically Segara, which is 88 units, where we took it on a completely different level. So we ask ourselves, okay, what did we done right in Piece of Paradise, and how can we improve it even more for Segara? And since we have the plot size is bigger, we have more units. Like, what can we put inside there? So we would like a full spec on co-working space inside there. We have podcast studios, a golf simulator. Laundry. Everyone who stayed here knows what, especially with your white shirt, if you put it in a cheaper,
yellow.
Yes. So we put like an eco-friendly laundry inside there, which will be picked up from your room, delivered again. Mini market as well.
It's facilities focused and price pointed.
Facility, price point, and location.
The perfect three, to make something sell out.
And especially on like in the Segara development, it's like, the penthouses that we have, they're 112 square meter. We just have one left, and we're not officially launched yet. They're they started back then at 149, all the way up to $220,000 which is very good at the pricing. And then we have the studios, which are 35 square meters, starting at like $69,000. And now the most people will think, oh, Erik, that's way too cheap. That will be absolutely shit quality. But the thing is, like, since we have our in-house construction company, we can still deliver a good quality without cutting the corners too much, which most people cannot do.
Okay, so you control everything in-house, which then gives you more margin, which you then offset to the buyer, really.
Yeah, we have the construction, we have furniture, we do windows, we do all in-house.
That's interesting. Because, 69,000 it's a great deal.
Usually I would tell you run away if you hear that prices, because usually it will be absolutely shit quality, but we would shoot ourselves like on a contractor side reputation, also from developer side reputation, would shoot ourselves in the leg if we do it not good quality.
And you're here for the long term, so it's just, it's something that you. And I also think you personally would struggle to deliver something shit quality.
No, why would I do this one? Because if I look at the long term run, let's say we should deliver shit quality, nobody would buy next development from us.
Exactly.
Or nobody would hire us as a contractor anymore because quality is not good. So there's would be way more downside than upside for me.
For sure.
For delivering this.
Development of yours becomes your showroom, really.
Exactly. Yes.
So whatever you do, you have to do it well.
Yeah, so. And for me, the approach is I want to be proud at the end of the day. And if I bring potential clients inside there who want to do developments with us, I want to have the wow factor. And if I don't have this one, I'm not satisfied.
Anything else on your own developments you want to touch on? Or?
Yeah, we have this very similar approach, but on a smaller scale with townhouses in Umalas. Not Umalas. In Ungasan in Uluwatu.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we do like a kind of eco resort right now in Candidasa.
Candidasa, I heard, is starting to. A lot of Dutch guys doing some developments there.
They built their own small village there.
What was the Synergy?
Yes.
In Virgin Oasis, I know another guy's doing something.
Yes, then we have Candidasa Hills.
Candidasa Hills.
That's the same guys from Synergy.
And I had another guy come in here. So I actually met him yesterday. David, he's building a project there.
Wundernick?
Yeah, Wundernick.
Yeah, they're building like close to the beachfront,
Yeah.
We're in touch with them,
Small little world, this, huh?
Yeah, Bali's a small village at the end of the day. That's why reputation is also so important, because if you don't build a good quality, or if you do something wrong here, this word spread very fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to go up to Candidasa next week. I haven't been in years. Have a good look. It's beautiful up there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So where would you say the hotspots? Because Bali is all about hotspots.
Yes.
And if you don't get the hotspot wave correct, and the upswing and capital appreciation, the whole thing, and you get stuck in Kuta for 10 years, it's not a great buy.
Yeah.
Where would you say to focus?
First of all, you have to look into like, can I generate traffic, yes or no? Because you can also do a development in Mundok or whatever it is, where you can bring people towards it, where you have, for example, Mundo Cabins, a great example for this one. It's like where you can also make good money if you can generate the traffic towards it. In general, like if you don't have following, you don't know how to generate traffic, rather through paid.
What do you mean by traffic? You talking about footfall? You're talking about like web traffic or?
No, I mean like web traffic. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so eyeballs, leads.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So if we look besides of these ones, of course you have Sesse is very good right now, but Sesse is like I would say 70 or 80% of all the good plots are already sold. So even on our road where we are right now, like all good plots are already gone. Then what I personally really like, and we also do a couple of developments there or building a couple of developments for clients of us, is in Kidungu.
Okay. Yeah.
I personally think that Kidungu have a very good potential. Going towards it, we have more and more expats, especially long-term expats, already going there because it's also way cheaper at the moment.
There's a great school there now also, which is nearly capacity, so it's good for families.
Yes, and the infrastructure is also slowly building there because before you always had the issues, you want to stay close to Canggu, Brennan or whatever it is because you never had the infrastructure. But now Kidungu is starting to or already have more infrastructure. There's cafes, you can go there. Gym, I think, is open up as well, already open up. Yeah. So I think Kidungu is very good. Then, of course, we have Uluwatu as well, or close to Bingen. We have Suluban, for example, which is also very good. Then Nyang Nyang.
What do you think about Bukit in the long term? What do you think is going to happen there?
I think it will be highly dense developed.
Traffic and water, what do you think is going to happen with that?
That's the biggest challenge right now. Because you see all the water trucks pacing by in a speed, and a lot of accidents happen there as well. It's like the biggest challenge.
It's dangerous, yeah. Really dangerous.
And they tried to fix it with the PDAM, basically, with all the water tanks, what they had. The problem is that to a lot of developments, you don't have access to it. And if you have access to it, it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mountain, really. And you
yes.
Climb it, yeah.
So right now, like, the only solution that you can have, like, you can do a well, but a well, very hard to get the permits, very expensive to drill because you had to go down hundreds of meters. So the only proper solution that you have as well is right now the water tanks.
But I mean, there's big developments going in down there.
Yes.
Yeah, Bukit is. I mean, I love it, but it's a little bit tricky. I think it'll start to get a little bit creaky in like 4, 5, 6 years. Yeah.
The main limitation that you have are the roads at the moment because these roads cannot take much more on.
No, it's hell going down to Uluwatu.
I really like Uluwatu, but if I go down there to the projects, like I always ask myself, like how much more traffic can take it.
Yeah,
and imagine one road is like there's accident or it's closed. Like
it's days. Okay, so yeah, Uluwatu, Bukit. Yeah, I mean it's great. Anything West Coast did you see or North? Any inside information that you have? Just not touch on the airport metro because I'm not so sure about that anymore.
Yeah, that's always a 50-50 chance, or maybe even less. No, to be honest, like what we look at right now is like Candidasa as well. I think Candidasa is quite nice, but you have to know how to generate traffic, like eyeballs towards it. Otherwise, it could be a little bit more tricky. But I really like what's going on. The development's already going on there. There also will be soon a hospital once you're going there. I'm not sure if they already started or just put up the banners and then just leave it there. But yeah, I think like there's very nice spots where you can go to. Lovina is also nice. But for development side right now, we more stick like mainly focusing Sesse, Uluwatu, and then 1 or 2 like signature projects in more outside of the main center.
So 31st of March, this whole thing. Nobody seems to quite know it. We did touch on it earlier, but like this whole shifting legislative / enforcement environment in Bali, how are you finding it? How are you seeing the shifts changing, or the environment changing? Short-term rentals, what do you think is going to happen there? What do you think is going to happen to long-term? How's it going to affect the Bali market? Is it at all going to affect the Bali market? And what do you see happening?
I think at the current stage with the enforcement that we're having, as we talked before about this one a little bit, like the management companies already figured out a legal way how to basically, you still can rent your property towards it.
So how does that work? So you have a villa, and then you just get a local management company to do
exactly with the right KPIs, and then you're able basically to rent this one out later.
And you think that'll change? You think it will be the underlying asset that needs the right KPI at any point?
Maybe at one point they will enforce it more. I think right now with all the villas that we have on the market, they don't have the capacity to enforce it. I think so at the moment.
So you see nothing really shifting on the 31st of March?
There will be more enforcement, especially on all the green zone builds, basically, which are still rented out right now. I'm pretty sure they will somehow disappear from the market.
So you think Airbnbs? So you think they're going to delist on the 31st? A bunch.
Depends on what.
It's like, I don't know, what is it? 60%, 50%, 40%? Nobody quite knows that don't have the correct.
To be honest, like based on the conversation that I had with other villa management companies, they don't seem concerned at all, and they mentioned like 400, 500 villas plus. They said like there's a they already found a workaround for it, and it's not affecting too much as the most people thought at the beginning. I remember when it comes out, everybody get messages, "Oh, it's very good. 50% of all our competitors will be disappearing." And I said like it's the same like with the moratorium what we had before, where everybody thought, "Oh, we cannot get a license anymore." It was like 1 year or 2 years ago. Everybody's texting like, "Oh, Erik, can I still do my development and everything?" So there's always this news coming out, and people are very, very shocked about it and think like they lose their whole investment. But most of the time, the government also want that you still can continue it, but they want to enforce it more, which is right. So developers who actually develop by the book and by all the regulations, because there's a lot of regulations here in Bali, they will basically benefit from it.
So word of advice, if you're going to start it, do it right 100% up front, so you don't have to deal with any of these dramas down the line. Okay, well, what about zoning, and what about this agricultural land, and have you seen any issues directly on those kinds of things at the moment?
What I saw that the government changed a lot of like pink zoning back to green zonings, but this will not happen here. It's more like 1 to 1.5 hours away from here. So they changed like an 18-hectare plot into like from all pink zone into like 2 hectares actually usable pink zone. The rest is green zone, LSD protected. So you see this kind of changes, but the most of the time, like in these areas in Assese and co, you don't have these kind of changes. It's more further out in order to protect more what's not built yet, and so it's not too dense later on.
I heard Sabanan has a little bit of issues with that, but any advice that you can give?
If you're watching this one and you basically thinking about, it's super easy to start developing here in Bali, the most of people, the perception is it's super easy and it's super easy to sell later on. So a lot of people starting into this journey and later figuring out how hard it actually is. So the most important things is what you should do on your checklist. First of all, is like, can you sell the units, yes or no? Or maybe you have the funding for yourself. But after that, the trickiest part is actually to find the right contractor. Because we run like a survey in our real estate community. For one development, how much contractors do you think you need in order to finish the project in average?
Good question. I would say half a dozen.
So it was like between 2 and 3 contractors in average that you need to finish one development. And keep in mind, in this real estate community, they're not like big developers, but they're like 4 villas, 5 villas, sometimes 2 villas. So in average, you need you start with one guy. Then the most of the time the issue is they're running behind schedule. They don't not have enough workers on site. Then quality matters coming up, and usually on the finishing stage you switch between 1 and 2 contractors.
The actual main project man. I just thought you meant like subcontractors or this.
No, like the whole contractor.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying 2 to 3 usually on a project from start to...
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, wow. So they would get fired and then find a new contractor.
Yes. And this one usually costs you a lot of delays.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of money, penalties potentially for investors as well. To be honest, it's very hard to find a good contractor because you have a lot of contractors here, but most of the time, like if they take on smaller projects, the quality, and whether they're newly established and maybe they build a good quality, or they got burned before in other bigger projects, but it's very hard to find a good and reliable contractor here in general. So that's one of the things I would recommend to look or to watch out for. One of the most things because it's not that hard.
More on that side also.
Yes,
but also taking over a project is almost impossible because they'll just keep playing. Not impossible, but there's a bit of a blame game. That was a contractor before, and then nobody wants to take accountability for where the project.
100%, yeah. And you have to make sure, and also you have to also analyze basically also on the payment structure later on for the contractor. Like usually people sometimes they do like 30-40% upfront payment, and then the contractor halfway through is gone, which is also a common thing. I'm pretty sure you heard this one a lot as well. So it's always important to do like maybe once per month payments together with your project manager, quality controller, who actually can verify it. First of all, is this the actual progress that was made? And also, is it properly executed? Because otherwise, you're paying. And once you find out the issue, and you already overpaid 20 or 30%, you will never see this money again.
No,
Guaranteed.
it's gone.
Yes.
That's good words of advice. Any other wise words of wisdom before we close this off?
Yeah. One more thing is like, especially with off-plan sales, is expectation versus actually delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, like developers, you show the renderings, expectation somewhere here, budget and delivery somewhere here.
Mm-hmm.
So very important for people who want to invest into it. Ask for all the material breakdown, so you know exactly what will you get and what will you not get.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think like most of the time developers don't even know what kind of materials they use in the renderings, and they put like Italian marble inside and later figure out, oh, it's a 60K apartment or whatever it is, and then go for cheaper other materials.
Yeah. And I can see it all the time. Just renderers, they just kind of make things up.
Yeah.
You know, oh, there's wood, but then it's not wood or
yeah, it's vinyl or whatever it is. Yeah. So it's very important to make sure that you have to in the contract also put down which kind of materials they're using in the finishes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what will happen the most of the time, they go over budget. They already overspend on the structure, on the MEP, and then they have less budget left on the finishes. So that's the only way where to save money. So instead of the full wood of like a proper wood floor, you put like vinyl inside. Or instead of solid wood, you go for HPL and all these other things where you can save some money.
And it's the difference is astounding. The kind of difference the finishes and those kinds of things make to a place. So.
Yeah, and that's also like one of the most important things I would say you have to do on the developer side and also on the contractor side is expectation management. So your expectation with the renderings are here, but if your budget is here, you have a big gap where you can be disappointed. So one of the most important things for me or for our company as well is like to set the expectations that we at least deliver it where you expect it to or over deliver it. And how can you do this one? It's quite easy. Like for the contractor side, you do, for example, for the materials, 70% of all people in the world are visual learners. So they don't understand if I show you rendering, how it actually looked like, what kind of texture you had. So we put like smaller packages together with the actual finishing material. So you understand what will you get and what will you not get. And the same on the developer side, because the better you manage the expectations from the buyers, the more happy are they later on. And also there's a long-term customer value. Most of the people which invested with us, they also bought in the next development another unit as well. So it's all about like, the expectation management is super, super important.
Transparency, clarity,
communication is one of the biggest or challenging parts which most people have with the contractor. No updates, no daily updates, no weekly updates, no progress reports. And then you have to hire someone or you have to go on site every day. I have so many people losing their hair because they have to become the project manager and be every day on site. I'm pretty sure you know the stories as well. So that's the biggest advice or things that you should look out for.
We'll hit some rapid fire questions when we come back. Okay, welcome back here with Erik. We're just going to finish off some rapid fire questions. 60 seconds, you'll get to answer a maximum amount of questions with really short answers. So yes, no, pass, kind of thing. Yeah, it's a short game. We like to
Let's see how I perform.
Yeah, let's go. Okay. Do investors focus too much on projected ROI?
Yes, and the problem is that most of the time the ROI which is projected is not really backed up by numbers. And they should do their own research with RDNA or REIT, for example, in order to verify if the investment even makes sense.
Is cash flow more important than appreciation?
Yes, 100%.
Does Bali test your patience as a developer?
Yes, 100%.
Does German discipline help?
Yes, of course, especially for the expectation as well, but you have to adjust it to the Bali market. You cannot expect the same what we have in Germany.
Do developers sometimes know a project will be difficult from day one?
Yes, of course, especially if it's your first one, 100% it will be very difficult for them.
Is building a team harder than building projects?
No, you need a good team in order to execute the projects properly.
Do bad neighbors sometimes ruin great projects?
Yeah, there will be some issues the most of the time.
Do you find it easier to stay healthy in Bali or in Europe?
Definitely Bali. You can outsource everything. You have a private chef. You can cook it for you. It's way more easier, even if I don't look like this.
Thank you. I will put the links below to your two companies.
Yes.
If you're looking for a contractor, this is definitely one of the top 3 options, or number 1 option you should be looking at in Bali. Definitely knows what he's doing. Yeah, I think that's about it. And I'll put your links in the description. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.